Brad Schneider is one of the most vehement supporters of the current genocide against Palestinians in the entirety of the Democratic Party. When Biden delayed only a few weapons to Israel, Schneider denounced the president and advocated for those weapons to be shipped immediately. Keep in mind, this is a state unequivocally committing genocide with American tax dollars and American weapons as we speak. I have a link in the description to an entire playlist of videos documenting this. Yet Schneider wants to erode American and international law to make both Jews and Muslims across the world less safe by further arming a genocidal government that not only radicalizes both Israelis and Palestinians further, but arguably the American public itself. Since October 7th, Israel has hit every single university and museum in Gaza with airstrikes, intentionally targeted countless hospitals, intentionally bombed entire families, aid workers, UN peacekeepers, American allies, and even Americans themselves. Over 44,000 people have been murdered using October 7th as their quote-unquote justification. Nearly 70% of those deaths have been from women and children. That's over 3,000 children under the age of 5 alone. These actions being supported across partisan lines in Congress is a feat accomplished thanks in no small part to Brad Schneider himself. He has regularly proudly touted being the creator of a bill that got massive bipartisan support that seek to denounce free and democratic movements meant to oppose the brutal crimes against innocent people.
But the second is the bipartisan support of Israel within the United States Congress. If that is lost, then the support for that aid, the support for our critical work together is put at risk. Last month, I had the privilege of leading a resolution. We got 390 members of Congress to vote in support of Israel, the U.S.-Israel relationship, Israel's security, and the commitment to a negotiated two-state solution and the condemnation of the global BDS movement. There aren't a lot of issues where you can bring Congress together like that. Israel's one of them, and we've got to work to consistently make sure that remains the case. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I proudly rise today in support of House Resolution 246, of which I am the sponsor. This resolution does four things. First, it affirms the vital relationship between the United States and Israel, our most important ally in a complicated region of the world. Second, it reiterates our unbreakable commitment to Israel's security. Third, it restates Congress's strong bipartisan support for a negotiated two-state solution. Lastly, it makes clear Congress opposes the global BDS divestment and sanctions, the global boycott, divestment, and sanctions, or BDS movement that seeks to delegitimize Israel, opposes a two-state solution, and pushes the cause of peace for both Israelis and Palestinians further out of reach. It's been our country's long-held policy that the best path to assuring Israel's long-term security is a democratic and Jewish state, and realizing the Palestinian people's aspiration for a state of their own is through a negotiated two-state solution. The global BDS movement, on the other hand, denies the Jewish people's connection to the land of Israel, refuses to accept the basic idea of a Jewish state, and seeks to delegitimize Israel in international forums, on college campuses, and in global commerce. But don't take my word for it. The founder of the global BDS movement, Omar Barghouti, has said as much, quote, "We oppose a Jewish state in any part of Palestine. No Palestinian, rational Palestinian, not a sellout Palestinian, will ever accept a Jewish state in Palestine," end quote. When global BDS movement supporters chant, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," these are not words of peace. This is a call for the destruction of the entire state of Israel and the elimination of the Jews from the land. All the land, not just Gaza and the West Bank. That is why it is so important we take a stand today and vote to condemn the global BDS movement. But let me also
He has also proven himself to be an active opponent of free speech, trying to silence and denounce even his own constituents who rightfully speak out against these unacceptable crimes that he regularly endorses. He has voted for Republican bills equating all speech critical of Israel with anti-Semitism. When his own constituents demonstrated outside his house, as is their democratic right, by the way, he condemned them as anti-Semites as well. He has voted to censure his own colleagues in Congress for saying sentences that literally originated as Zionist slogans, and Benjamin Netanyahu's party uses them on a regular basis. quote unquote, between the sea and the Jordan there will only be Israeli sovereignty, end quote, was said by Netanyahu himself in January, yet I cannot find any statement from Schneider condemning that, only him condemning Tlaib unjustly. He opposed the Iran nuclear deal and then turned around and condemned Trump when he pulled the U.S. out of it, which is exactly what he wanted previously. And when Trump moves our embassy to Jerusalem, just like leaving the Iran nuclear deal, which makes the region less stable, Schneider comes out in full support of it. Not only does he attempt to silence opposition, he is a war hawk to his very core when it comes to the genocide Israel is enacting as we speak. He has voted for every single round of funding to the Israeli government, giving them over $12 billion in totals just since October 7th alone, while his own constituents are struggling to put food on the table. Billions of dollars to Israel, which the majority of the public opposes, by the way. And oh, by the way, he's also taken over $1 million in super PAC donations from pro-Zionist groups who openly favor Donald Trump, fund Republicans, and primary many Democrats who refuse to be on their payroll.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Mr. Schneider.
Thank you, and Mr. Chairman, thank you for having this hearing. To witnesses, thank you for being here on what is a very busy week here in the House, so I'm glad we can make time to address this issue. Look, anti-Semitism is something that has been a scourge of society. As a Jewish American, it's something I experienced in one form as a child. As a member of Congress, I experienced it in a very different form. Now as an adult, it existed for generations before me. I suspect it will exist for generations to come and continue to morph and transmogrify itself. It's imperative that we work to fight against anti-Semitism, against all hate. We're here today to talk about anti-Semitism. And I think in that fight, it's imperative, and Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your engagement here, that we don't make this a partisan issue. That is an issue that affects all Americans. Anti-Semitism is oftentimes the first hate. It doesn't end there. And whether you use the analogy of the canary in the coal mine or anything else, we need to address it. Part of the transformation of anti-Semitism now, and Mr. Siegel, I'll look to you on this, is Zionism, and the word Zionist becoming a replacement term for Jew. You talked a little bit about it, at least.
Netanyahu is wanted by international courts for his crimes, yet Schneider welcomes him into American Congress with open arms. Not to mention, American law itself states it is illegal for us to provide military aid to a state intentionally blocking American humanitarian aid. By equating all critics of Israel with anti-Semites, giving a blank check to literal criminal regimes under both American and international law, and repeating easily disprovable misinformation around Israel, Schneider is making countless communities less safe. During this genocide, we've seen an increase in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic attacks within our own communities and across the world more broadly. Blindly supporting Israel and giving them a blank check will clearly only further this, in addition to the extinction of the Christian community in Gaza, as Israel has targeted several of the oldest and most sacred churches in all of Christianity with repeated airstrikes. Countless Hamas and Hezbollah leaders have been taken out. Former defense ministers who worked under the genocidal monster Netanyahu himself had said themselves they have accomplished all their military objectives. Others, who again have also worked for Netanyahu, have come out and explicitly stated that Israel is committing ethnic cleansing. Clearly, Schneider's vehement support for every Israeli regime, regardless of their actions, has not brought peace. I would argue it's clear he knows that and has known that. That's why he supported a bill recently that would cut off funding to the measly amount of aid still able to even get through to Palestinian people, and has been ideologically aligned with those that oppose humanitarian organizations such as UNRWA. I know full well what real anti-Semitism is like. I've been punched, threatened, told by entire crowds of people to quote-unquote go in the oven. I've had people laugh in my face and say my ancestors deserve to be murdered in gas chambers. Anti-Semites terrify the hell out of me. They are a direct threat to my own safety. Yet my own representative wants to label me as one of them because I'm kind of furious about a literal genocide? It's heartbreaking. I fear Schneider labeling everything critical of Israel's anti-Semitic will turn into a boy who cried wolf situation, and that will directly make me less safe as someone who regularly experiences anti-Semitism. Ironically enough, despite what Brad Schneider will tell you, I am pro-Palestine specifically because it is the safer position to take if we truly wish to oppose anti-Semitism. We need people in Congress serious about bringing peace to the region so we can bring some more of our own troops in the Near East home, so our Jewish and Muslim communities can live freely and without fear, so that we can get people our fair share at home before sending billions upon billions overseas. It's truly a tragedy of our democracy that while many constituents in District 10 are struggling, their own representative is getting rich off of super PAC donations and giving blank checks to other countries overseas who are more than capable of funding their own actions.